Previously on Ninjago.
Cole is basically the king of cars. I mean, he has so many cars and bikes. I guess being the Ninja of Earth does mean you have to have a lot of land vehicles, but it's still a lot. Subar Temple of Stolen Time for $170 with Chrono Cole, Chrono Nia, Chrono Kai, Chrono Lloyd, Subar Warrior, a Subar Samurai, and Lord Sagruna. Plus 2 secret minifigures that I won't reveal until we get to that set in November. Hey guys, the set Past Me was just describing is something we will, as Past Me said, only get to in November, but there is a side build in that set that I didn't mention that is Cole's vehicle. Most specifically, a vehicle Cole has only gotten once before, a jet. And this is going to be a much more conventional jet than the Boulder Blaster, which is the only other jet he's ever had. So let's get right into this. We'll divide this ship into 4 sections: the cockpit, the midsection and hull, and each of the wings. Of course, everything starts with a good cockpit piece, and this time I do want it to be able to fit 2 minifigures. I want both minifigures to sit inside with their armor on. I wanted to give the whole cockpit this tan color. I built in this rounded piece so that the edge of Cole's armor can actually fit inside. You can also see a very detailed control array, and at the very front I threw in an elemental blade piece in gold, and they're going to be covered up by these panels right here attached with these brown clips. They're connected by a Technic pin to the main body, and they're composed of the big black slopes. Even though the build doesn't actually look like it's that stable, because really it isn't, it's surprisingly not as fidgety as I thought it would be when I first placed it. It's obviously not the most stable thing ever, but you can hold it by this section, it's gonna hold up. The entire back of the cockpit has this orange stripe running through it. Honestly, even though the orange makes it look a bit unbalanced color scheme wise, the black, obviously serving as the main color, does give a nice table for everything to go on top of. As you can see, the minifigures don't really have a lot of space to breathe, but the cockpit windshield does fit on top of them pretty well. Now we can move on to the hull, and one big requirement that I had for the hull is that it had to have an interior space, because that's something not enough Ninjago vehicles do, in my opinion. So I made sure to leave this big cavity right dead center and this big tan stripe going throughout the entire inside. Then if we flip the model, you'll see that there is a weight on the wall, and the vibe I was trying to capture is that this would be Cole's personal gym. And we can also take this tea set that was included in the ninja character display. There is one problem: the weight that I created is too big to fit inside, so there are 3 pieces that I spread throughout the set, and we can put them together like so. Let's see how Cole does on the bench press. I also purposely included the studs on the side so that you can fit Nia and Jay like this scene in Season 1. And Cole is still lifting them up effortlessly. But I think now Cole needs a tea break so we can get back to building his vehicle. In the interior of the jet, I also added a green 1x1 plate and a red 1x1 plate to resemble aviation lights. I also wanted to include a transformation function in this mock, which will result in this sliding section, which doesn't want to slide in. We have this whole Technic support beam at the back, which you can basically pull on, and wait, the entire thing falls off, revealing the obligatory pink tile. And speaking of obligatory, to stop the thing from coming all the way out, I decided to throw in another trademark of my vehicle mocks, an exhaust pipe, which uses the lip of the bracket to lock the back section in. I don't think that's enough, because imagine if the bracket falls off while you're playing with it. So for that reason, I added this block, and on top of it, I'm gonna throw on this section here. I also used one of these arch bricks all the way at the back. I also added one of these arch bricks instead of a normal 1x4 brick, because then you can have enough support underneath of the other bodywork sections while still allowing the thing to slide back without catching on the plates. So now the sliding section is completely secured. I added in this one reference with this printed tile that I got from the Temple of Irjitsu, covered up by a orange 2x4, but by now you should probably tile this section off with a little bit more bodywork and these curved slope pieces. This black piece with a lip on the end I particularly got from the 2023 Darth Vader mech. These parts really complete the back section and make these engine pods look a lot more believable. But this whole section needs to be tiled off with a few more pieces, including this gigantic orange gear that will serve as an actuator. We also throw on some of these snot bricks that will serve as windows. These 2x4 reddish-brown slope pieces will also help me complete the bodywork design, creating a strip of brown. Brown is a color that Cole has kind of abandoned in recent years, so I think it's important to bring some of it in. I wasn't able to bring any dark brown, which I think looks a lot more subtle and cooler, but I guess I just had to go with the flow. The roof for the midsection is possibly my favorite part of the entire hull. I love how I was able to make this gold engine, these gold exhausts, and this translucent orange power core all look really nice. I threw in some of these stickered pieces from the ATSD Raider, and if we look further back, we can see this angled reddish brown piece and this orange quarter circle 1x1 tile sandwiched between two of these black triangular pieces. That roof just goes on top of the midsection, and it's only connected by one stud, so it's very easy to remove, and it doesn't actually create any gaps when you pull the back section. We have to leave this clip behind so that we have a place to store the black rod piece that I used for the weight. And you'll see what this cavity underneath is used for later. The wings are where the real transformation comes in. I built a cavity underneath the wing where we can slide this brown Technic lift arm. The 3-long lift arm is going to be used along with this axle to further secure the connection at the front. I tried to make the wing more than just a stack of wedge plates, so I decided to create some unique shaping here and make it slightly more three-dimensional with the addition of this orange stripe running through the entire thing. This trans-orange disc and inverted tile combination also looks really cool because it serves as a couple of energy pods. These winglets are also built with a couple of wedge plates that I find kind of cool because they're tipped off. This design was obviously inspired by the OG Stormfighter, even with these large engine pods on the back, where if we flip it around, we have some flame pieces coming out. Another pointier wedge slope found at this end section connected to a ball joint. It just helps make the back section of the wing look a bit more complete. I tried to integrate a lot of these black textured rock pieces because it makes it feel a bit more rocky. After all, this is called the Rockflyer, and we can put them on top of this triangular slope piece. These are the biggest dark bluish gray accents on the entire ship. Wing designs on top of. Right behind them, we have this circular angled section. The only design synergy that this has with Cole's only other jet, the Boulder Blaster, and it becomes a bit more obvious when we throw on these gold pieces. And this golden scythe blade piece obviously references Cole's original Scythe of Quakes. I also obviously added in a lot of translucent orange 1x1 cheese slopes because I just have a ton of them. I got them on pad like 2 years ago. When we put these grill pieces on these brown brackets at the front, it kind of looks like these are vents of some sort or even a sound box, but they could even be engine intakes if you prefer. And then we can throw on this gold ingot and this golden katana. Oops. We still need stud shooters. Again, I want to include play features like these on all of my MOCs, but this is one where I had the most trouble placing. Now we can just clone the wing and put it on the main body. I do want to demonstrate the action feature, but for that we have to build the base. It begins with this Technic structure that ends in this brick here. So we have these two 2x2 orange jumper plates to indicate where you're supposed to put it. An Easter egg that I placed in here was the top of Cole's Season 8 hammer, which I put here because you can take the 6-long rod piece that I placed on the side of the jet and complete the Season 8 hammer design. I'll explain my philosophy for designing the terrain around the Temple of Stolen Time much better when we actually get to that video in November. This Technic support brick here is filled with studs, so we can place this plate in the middle, and around it a bunch of rock work. And we also have this spider and a ton of transparent red, purple, trans black, and even trans pink. But at the center, of course, we have the Earth essence, and it's going to be surrounded by what I'm going to call the elemental temples. Each element, fire, lightning, ice, earth, life, and water will have its own temple inside of the Temple of Stolen Time. I've already designed all the temples, but of course this video isn't about that, so I'm just going to build the Earth Temple. It's basically just going to be this black structure with these 1x2 tiles on the side that I was inspired by some of those earlier Ninjago sets. The temple is just these two support beams with the roof on top. That Technic piece there with all the studs is gonna serve as the rest of the roof. What these temples do is that they serve to store all of the 6 elemental essences. So the temples are kind of like manifestations of the element, and I really wanted to get very creative with how to represent each element, but for the Earth Temple specifically, we have this strip of rock, a roof, and a couple of trans orange pieces at the top, but really it's probably the most boring temple, but that's because it's integrated into the stand for the Rockflyer, so there isn't really much room for creativity. I also added this pathway that leads to the Earth Temple, composed of alternating dark bluish gray 1x1 studs and dark blue circular tiles, so that you can still place minifigures and pose them around, but there's still not that many exposed studs here. It does feel kind of excessive to have so many 1x1s, but I do think it turned out pretty decent. And if we place the Rockflyer on here, this tree here has flower pieces that are color-coded to each one of the original 4 ninja. This big rock here constructing one of the wolf masks from Ninjago Dragon's Rising. Another reference for you. Also, there are just a bunch of bananas. And this banana, a reference to a very particular ninja. This is basically like the Dragon's Rising shrine. So now we take Cole, we sit him down, open up the windshield, throw him in, and we still need a place to attach his swords, so I put them down here under the wings of the jet. Thank you so much for tuning into the newest episode of Ninjago Chrono-Dive. Please share this video with a friend if you found it good enough to do so, and stay tuned for the instructions on all of these MOCs whenever they release. Bye, guys!